live, unfortunately.
All right, let's see. Let me pull this up here so I can actually see stuff.
there we go.
Let me pull this up here so I can actually
Podcast
see stuff.
episode 3. Podcast Zone 2 training.
Zone 2 Troning.
Yeah, I'm about to give a real.
Damn, I'm still opposite on
Hop off this from
either
Spark.
one.
Well, you're opposite on either one? Oh, you mean you're on opposite sides?
Yeah, I'm
That's
left
'cause
and right on
Fox
each
set it
one.
up wrong.
Yeah, it's all Fox's fault.
Okay.
You set it on the wrong side. All right, there's Fox. All right, I got you up.
Sweet. Yeah, I got you up. Where's the knocking thing? I don't see it.
Knock. Here we are.
Oh,
I'm glad I don't have to do any of that shit.
I knocked on you,
Yeah, me too.
and I'm gonna start sharing chat.
yep.
Cool. Done.
Done and done. Yep. All right.
Okay,
Perfect.
make sure that this is running well.
I think. Yep.
All right.
Good.
We're
All
good?
right,
You good to
Carbonic.
start?
Yep.
All right. Today we are doing our third NERD-RNG podcast. In this podcast, we're going to be going over Zone 2 and the aerobic benefits and training. We're going to go over everything regarding Zone 2. It's going to be a little bit all-encompassing. I am the host today. My name is Carbonic. Not my actual name, but we're going to go by that. I am with my co-host, Fox Cookie. To my, well, it's gonna look different to everybody.
I wouldn't even try.
The other dude, the guy, along with Key Fuse. Raise your hand, Key Fuse. And I have Peach with me, the russet type.
I'm getting
That's means it's bad?
by these flyers right now.
Oh, shoot. Anybody near him? Well, thank you, Stacks, for doing that for us.
Where's he at? Yes, I'm right
Howdy,
next to him.
Stacks.
I'm above
Oh my
you
god.
guys.
Shouting out
Oh.
everybody on everybody's
Oh,
channels.
nope. I tried getting him.
Okay.
All right, let's see.
Oh my god.
So I wrote things down. So I'm going to go in.
Nope.
We're going to start off by talking about Zone 2 generally, like what is it specifically? And then we're going to go into the benefits of what benefits it has to actually performance to the body. And then we have the. Why are there what the freaking shout outs going on?
Can you guys see them? I don't see them.
No,
I can hear them.
I don't see them either.
They're pulled up on a different scene, so the podcast doesn't have stuff come up on it.
Oh, wait, why can I hear it?
We can all hear it, but it doesn't
it's
like
getting harder, huh?
physically show up on the
Oh, got you.
You call this hard?
Anyway, going back to what I was talking about. So I'm going to start off with going over what Zone 2 is generally,
I feel like you just have a dirty mind.
what it is, and then we're going to go into the benefits it has on the body, and then we're going to go into the performance benefits,
You know what?
how it relates to longevity and good health, and then how you would go about getting started. And then we're going to go over some common myths and mistakes regarding it.
Oh
With
my
someone else in the
god.
cage?
Let's do
So-
it.
Yep, whole outline.
Can we activate
Yes.
Inception?
So starting off,
you put Key in a
what
cage.
is
Alright.
Zone 2?
And then I'll put.
Uh,
And then I'll put you
I
in a
could-
cage.
should I start off by going
That
over?
actually works.
Maybe just give us like
It
the
actually
one-liner.
All right.
Yeah,
So
another cage.
Zone 2 is related to heart rate training, whether that be, well, not necessarily just heart rate training. They also have it within lactate threshold as well. You can calculate certain levels of Zone 2, and there's a bunch of different ways
to land on.
to what is the word for it?
Estimate it, calculate it.
Estimate it, calculate it. Yeah, those words. So for when we're relating it to heart rate range, it is about 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. And they have different ways of calculating this. One of the more common ways, which I think is one of the more inaccurate ways, but it's probably one of the ways that you guys probably saw, is taking your 220, then minusing your age to get your maximum heart rate, and then calculating it off that. Am I correct about that? Is that what you guys saw?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
much everything
generally.
we saw. Yeah, doing the studying.
Yeah, I saw that one too, but there were some other ones they were talking about. I just didn't like fully understand it.
I don't entirely understand them either, but like, so I have a watch that tracks my heart rate and all the different things. And for the longest time, it was basing my zone 2 or whatever that range is off of like the easy calculation. If you take your max heart rate and you subtract whatever and do something else, I don't know. But then we changed it to use the more advanced version of using the lactate threshold, and my zone 2 totally changed. So I've been doing zone 2 for like several years now, but I think I've been doing it incorrectly for several years now, which is
We're gonna go
pisses me
over
off.
that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But she's talking about an LTHR test, which is basically calculating your lactate threshold, which zone 2 training is supposed to like estimate in a way. But your watch supposedly gets those calculations. I don't know exactly how accurate any of the calculations are for that matter. But like I said, I'm going to go into that a little bit later. I'm just kind of going generally over things. So there's that way of doing it. Another way you probably saw was the talk test. Essentially being able to hold a conversation while jogging, like normal, like a normal conversation.
Mhm.
And then perceived exertion's another one. That one's one that you actually need a little bit more experience in order to feel, because you'll at some point after doing zone 2 for a while, you'll get a feeling that you're in zone 2, and you can feel it out. And so there's a bunch of different ways to do zone 2 training, and I've seen it varies depending on what type of exercise you're doing. But I'm going to talk about specifically for running because that's what I have expertise in. But we could go over other stuff as well. So that's generally what zone 2 is. So what kind of benefits did you guys see in terms of body improvement related to zone 2? If you saw any, or if you believe any.
If we believe them.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
If you believe them. I'm open to anything.
I know that they were talking a lot about how it improves like your endurance and like metabolism. You can build like a stronger heart, but I know there was, at least from what I was like reading from people and like reading through the forums, there was a little bit of controversy with that just because of how consistent zone 2 is. And then I know there was some talk, at least from what I read, about how it enhances like your recovery time. Just from what I read. I don't know about what you guys are reading,
No,
but those are just some of the ones that I saw.
yeah, it's pretty much spot on. Like I saw a lot of people talking about increasing your metabolism, stuff like that, and making your body how do I word it? Making your body better and more efficient at using your energy and what it's using as the energy instead of like carbs and stuff. It's using your sugars and stuff like
In fact,
yes, yeah. So it's like training your body to use your energy more efficiently, and yeah, metabolism benefits is mainly what I
Yeah.
was seeing. Which
I
honestly
saw
I
similar
believe.
things.
Go ahead.
You believed?
Yeah,
Do you believe the earth is flat?
I do. I walked off it once.
what?
I don't know. It's just like it's funny to like talk about belief. Um yeah, I saw very similar things. I saw it kind of based off two buckets. One is like athletic performance, and then the other is, I guess, health. And so I guess depending on what people are interested in, it seems like it's great for both buckets. Particularly great for both buckets. Yeah. I feel like there's so much behind it. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, we could dive into it.
All right, so I'm going to first dive into the cardiovascular health. I know you just touched up on that, Peach. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So, from what I've read, at least from research articles, improving stroke volume is that what you guys saw as one of the benefits? Also,
What is stroke volume? I don't think most people. I didn't know what that was.
so that's how much blood your heart pumps every single time it goes, which means more oxygen to the rest of your body, which means, I mean, there's a lot of functions for it, muscle recovery and stuff like that. Then you have stuff like it increasing capillary density in your muscles, and that also increases oxygen delivery to your muscles. And then over time, it lowering your resting heart rate and decreasing your blood pressure. And you'll see that within very high level athletes, they'll have a very low resting heart rate.
Yeah. I was seeing that a lot, and a lot of the Zone 2 training videos I was watching was mainly athletes telling people the benefits and the hurdles of Zone 2 training, and a lot of people were saying that there is a lot of hardship getting into consistent Zone 2 training, and one of the biggest hardships, which was honestly weird, but I could see it, is ego. And a lot of people were saying like it's really hard on your ego. No, no, like for real. And I was watching more and
Mm-mm.
more
Yeah.
on that, and it was like because it's so hard to get into that type of training that it hurts a lot of athletes' egos, and so they don't really stay consistent with that because it's like even though they're big and strong already because of the other training they were doing, trying to get into Zone 2 training um, was just like this hurdle they felt like they couldn't overcome because it made them feel really weak and their heart hurt, their chest hurts and stuff. So that was honestly really interesting to see, is like the hurdles of Zone 2 training that I didn't know were going to be there.
There's
It,
also, sorry,
sorry.
continue.
It can be really embarrassing. Like if you're running at zone 2 and your zone 2 isn't super well developed, you could be or I do this where I'm basically at a walking pace, but I'm like moving my arms up and down. And I look like so stupid. I really do look so stupid. So I definitely get the whole ego thing.
Yeah. Before you start off, yeah, that's another one of the. I was just about to go over that actually. When you first start off doing zone 2 training, if you're untrained, it's going to be a walk. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be like 14-minute miles, like something ridiculous. And then, but the more that you train in it, the more it just increases naturally. And I mean, it makes sense, right? You have a stimulus, and then your body's reacting to that stimulus and adapting to that. And yeah, I mean that's what uh adaptability is, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with training your muscles or anything else.
Yep.
So
So you gotta work out.
next thing, a huge one, mitochondrial gains.
Yeah. Both number and efficiency, right?
Yeah, so it stimulates the growth of your mitochondria in terms of how much ATP it can produce, but it increases the efficiency of it, how well it uses that energy, the fat as energy, as well as using lactate as energy as well. Which lactate is actually an energy source. People only think about it as the fatigue in your muscles, but that's also used as an energy source, which it's been shown to also utilize lactate as an energy source better. So you're using that stuff that normally makes you feel fatigued and using it as an energy source. But yes, also increasing the number of mitochondria through a system of biogenesis.
It is really cool to think that like just by running, you are changing your biology at the cellular level. And it is really cool. I wish we could see it. If we could see the number of mitochondria increasing, then I would feel so much more motivated to just continue to do zone 2 stuff. Because I did say earlier that my watch has been wrong for several years, but like when you don't see progress really easily, it's so hard to just keep doing things and just kind of trust the people that you listen on the podcast. So I really wish we could see it ourselves.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely be like a bigger motivator. It's why I think games are so interesting to play, is
Yeah.
because you see that progression as you're playing the game.
Yeah.
And I think these new watches and stuff do a good job in gamifying it a little bit, because you can see like your performance increasing on the watch the more that you do
Yeah.
that activity. But yeah, it'd be nice to just be able to see that stuff. I mean, you'll see it in terms of like your time increasing, your heart rate staying lower as you're getting faster and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Maybe future science,
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah, it's a real shame life doesn't have meta progression. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, it does. That is literally
You
what
don't
this
you
is.
don't you don't own a watch? No meta progression for you guys. Sucks.
You know what? Fair, yeah.
Yep.
So those are all good points. What about metabolic flexibility? Did you get into that at all?
Yeah, what did I write about that?
What do you got, Fox?
Honestly, it was that particular topic or part of the topic that I was most interested about because when we first met and we were talking more about our personal lives, you had mentioned before you think my body is constantly in zone 2. So I was really interested in the topic, so I was reading, watching about it, and I have had like sky high, like just rocket zone metabolism my whole life. Like, there's people with high metabolism, and then there's me, where it's like not fair. So I was really interested in that specific aspect about it, and that's one of the reasons I believe that zone 2 training is definitely like a thing, is because like if my body is constantly in zone 2 because of the heart problems I have, I can definitely see that like it has incredible like very high um what's the word I'm looking for here? It affects your metabolism a lot, and that is one of the reasons I believe so. I cannot
Fuck,
faint.
it's funny you bring that up. I actually looked into your thing specifically, and I think that you're burning more calories because your heart rate is elevated all the time. But in terms of like the improvements that we're talking about with zone 2, I don't know if you're getting them just by being in the heart rate
No.
zone. I know, I know. I don't know if this is true or not, but like it sounds like you can't just be in the heart rate zone. You have to also be like it depends on what metabolic state your body is in. So like are you pushing it, are you actually running basically, or are you actually lifting weights, those kinds of things. And then because when you do the actual thing, then your body has to learn how to be efficient with its oxygen and adapt its mitochondria and do all these different things. So that was interesting.
Because you need the
I was
activity. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you go first.
No, I was saying I was just playing off key a little bit. I was literally thinking about that too when you guys first brought up zone 2 training to us. Because like once I started looking into it, it's supposed to like improve like strength, speed, endurance and everything. But it doesn't feel like, and I like personally know you and I'm not like dogging on you or anything. It doesn't feel like you have those benefits if you were consistently like actually in zone 2. And
Fox, you're not fit.
I'm specifically talking
Hey,
about like
I'm a pretty fit.
when I
I'm a
see
pretty fit
no,
dude.
I'm not talking about like I'm talking about like specifically endurance, I guess.
Yeah.
That one's really hard on you. Like I don't that's why I don't think you're constantly in like you're getting the benefits from it at all.
Yeah. Endurance is definitely a weakness of mine, but I think so would that be so I this is something I couldn't really find on zone 2 is how easy is it for you to get out of zone 2 and into higher zones? Because when I'm exercising, I can lift weights, do regular exercises just fine, but the moment I go from lifting and you know, lifting stuff to running, over. My endurance is done. Can't do it. But I can lift. I can like you. I did 60 something exercise wheels on a GG Oats episode. I'm fine. But if I run, I'm dead.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
about your speed. I think when I used to run, and it was the worst thing in the entire world because I was trying to go as fast as I could for as long as I could, and it was just awful. It was just so freaking awful. But then as soon as I started just like going slow, and by slow I mean like 13-minute miles, rather like I was before doing 8 or 7 minute miles. Like that was really hard. But now that I'm going super slow, it's really chill. It's so much nicer to run.
And then I do just want to say because Josh is like touching up on what we're talking about here in chat. He did say at least for Fox because you have a high heart rate, it's probably just normal for you. So you actually have to be in different heart rate zones for it to actually count for a zone 2 for you. So what you're normally saying is probably you in zone 1.
Rigged.
Well, it's not necessarily that. It's you exercising within those groups will actually expand the pace that you can be in those groups. Sorry if I don't explain that well. So say normally
did.
when you first start out, like say you're like your zone 2 is a 14 to 10-minute pace. What doesn't change is your heart rate's not going to change for your zone 2. But what's going to change is your pace for the zone 2 thing. The difference between your pace is going to get wider and wider inside of that zone. So you have a lot more pace to work with. So instead of being 14 minutes to 10 minutes, it'll be 14 minutes to 9 minutes and then 14 minutes to 18 or 8 minutes, and it's going to stay within those zones. Actually, it'll shorten up the other end too. It'll be like 13 to this. So now I have to run relatively fast in order to get to zone 2. But when I first started, like I as soon as I started like walking like faster than like a trot, I was already like at the end of zone 2 and it was taking me over cuz all my training when I was in cross country was me running in zone 4 and 5. So I had a very small level of zone 2, so it pretty much just skipped over zone 2 every time I ran.
Okay. You say that, me knowing you and how introverted you are. The moment you said that, I got a picture in my head of you like walking out the house, getting into like zone 2 or 3, and just going like, "Key, I'm going back inside. I'm done."
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other factors that affects like your heart rate and stuff, like humidity and all this elevation, all that stuff. So, like, I mean, depending where you are, it becomes harder. Um, all right. So that was metabolic flexibility. Going over stuff like mood in terms of like serotonin levels, as well as flushing metabolic byproducts such as lactate, which I was talking about earlier. And this is basically like all the recovery and stress management stuff. So this is like all your recovery stuff. Because there's actually something called what do they call it? It's after you do like a really hard like marathon or something. It's called like post run blues or something, where you go into a
Oh.
depressive state because you're at such a high elevated state that in order to maintain homeostasis, it actually makes you depressed after you do a marathon.
Mm. Did you feel that yourself?
Me, I don't remember. I don't think so. I would have to like measure my mood before and after. Maybe I got like a small dip or something. I don't know. I don't think it affected me too much.
Now you're just constantly
But that
depressed.
is a thing. It's just yeah, maybe it
That's so
is.
you don't know. You're like, was I happy? What is happening?
He's just always mad. That explains yesterday.
Yeah. I
He's
don't think I've
just
ever felt that either, dude. What?
The
yeah.
drop?
The
The
job after
drop.
doing
You're
a
always
hard run.
I always feel happy.
Oh yeah, I'm
After
definitely.
doing a run.
Yeah, because I'm like, yes, because like I'll hit a goal or something and just be happy.
I don't remember feeling it. This is for like hard runs. Keep in mind. So this is like zone 4 and 5 the entire time.
Like a
For if you're
Oh,
marathon.
doing
okay.
like a race. For zone 2, it doesn't trigger that same stress spike because you're going to keep your cortisol levels low. You're going to have low cortisol levels, which is less stress or whatever.
I did do a harder run recently. Like, I feel like I've just been doing so much zone 2, which is not what you really shouldn't do. You should mix it up. But, like, I was doing so much zone 2, and then I did a hard run, and I was totally wiped the entire rest of the day. Like, I was rotting on the couch the entire rest of the day. And I did the run, like, in the morning, so I just didn't do anything the entire day. And I just kind of forgot how awful real runs or not real runs, but, like, harder runs.
Is this when you ran with me the other day?
Yeah, you and I were both. We were both super exhausted.
Yeah, we did go like, I don't know, we were on 6.2.
Oh, was it
Yeah,
that?
we,
No,
we
no,
took
no. I'm
a
talking about a different. I think I was before then.
really? Okay,
Mhm.
that happened to we did it recently. We
Was
did
it
a
that
10K
one?
route.
Was it that one? I don't know. It was more like the speed.
Yeah, we were cruising.
Yeah.
Zone. I'm sorry
Uh,
for going out of order of what you're saying. Oh, go ahead.
Absolutely. Throw wherever. RNG.
Oh, I was just for Key because you said it's not always good to be in zone 2 training. How often do you guys like if you research how often are we supposed to be training for zone 2? Because for me personally, I'm sure I've been in zone 2, but I train I do hit training, so I have no idea about like being in zone 2 or how often I should be doing it.
So variable, but from what I've seen, for the most part, people are saying 80-20. Like I'm saying, these aren't exact numbers. I think it is a case to case basis when it comes to this stuff. But it's going to be a majority of zone two with the rest of it being different zones. But I wouldn't stick strictly to the 80-20 rule and or the 70-30. I've seen a lot of those ratios.
Well,
But
that would be the ratio of like zone 2 versus other zones. But in terms of like how much zone 2 to do, it's actually like so much. I was reading, kind of depends on like your goals, whether you're beginner, advanced, whatever. But like the average intermediate person, I read 3 to 5 sessions per week at
Per
about
week?
an hour. For an
Oh my God.
hour. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the downsides of zone 2 is like the amount of time it takes out of your life to
That's
do this much
so
zone 2.
keep in mind, this is very like this is like one thing. I've seen
Yeah.
others relating to a bunch of other things as well, and I'll dive a little bit more into that later on when I'm going over the myths and stuff. But I don't think you need to overdo it to that extreme.
I
It's
don't think
like
that's extreme. I think that sounds extreme to us because we all sit on our computers all day long and have office jobs or do whatever. But back in like human history, we were all day long like lugging logs from one side of the yard to the other, whatever they
they were
did.
lugging logs.
Lugging logs. I don't know. I don't
What
know.
are you talking about?
What year are we
Somewhere
actually
between.
in? Because I don't think, depending on the
What
year,
the
I don't
hell are
think
people
we
lugging
were doing
logs around
anything.
for?
I was in my head, I was thinking lugging cement to like build a house, but then I was like, wait, did they even have cement? I don't know. And so then I changed
No.
it to logs.
She's talking about 2024, back in the day. You know, people were lugging logs and
Pretty sure
driving
the horses
cars
did that for us.
The
and
horses.
shit.
No, but like, did we not do so much more physical activity back, like even just 100
Yeah.
years ago and beyond? But now we're just sitting and chilling at our computers. And so if you think of zone 2 it being like low intensity, an hour like for 3 days or 5 days out of the week, that's actually nothing compared to what they used to do.
We
We as in like
gathered crops all day.
humans. Oh, we
You and me
Damn.
just gathered shit all day. What are you talking about? We didn't lug
Damn.
it around.
we still did things. I don't know. I mean, even going to get water at the well, like
That's
we did things.
Just
okay. Well,
I literally
yeah. If we
get
want to
it.
go through all of anthropology, we could talk about all of that. I'm talking about in today's day and age, you can get an adequate amount of healthy exercise without having to overdo it. You know, um, from what I've seen, yes, the more that you do run in general, by the way, not just zone two, but in general, the more that you do it, the better that you get at it. Weird,
I
right?
mean, you
Like
still
it's the
need to
same thing with
recover.
anything.
There's a
Yeah.
limit to everything.
So zone two, another benefit of zone two is the fact you don't have to recover as much
True.
because
True.
there's not that hard impact. There's not that you're not straining your nervous system. You're not straining your cardiovascular system. There's barely any recovery that's needed in low zone two to high zone one stuff, right?
Yeah, true.
So you could do it every single day. And that's another benefit of it. And there's more of a correlation having to do with how much time that you've put in running than there is about how hard you're doing that training.
Yeah. True.
So hours better than how hard you're training
Yeah.
is what I've seen from the sciences. And if you actually look at the most elite runners, like 80% of their day is doing lower intensity exercise. Of course, their lower intensity is their zone two is probably running like 6-minute miles, but that's their job. So that's what they train with on a daily basis. Yes, key. If that's all we were doing and that's all we had enough time to do that, I would recommend doing at least that much, right?
Yeah.
But if you say that, people aren't going to do it at all.
Yeah, true. I feel like it, I don't know if you guys have been seeing I don't know, they're not like the reels or whatever, the shorts recently of people who are showing, there's like somebody who's holding laundry and then they drop a sock, and because they drop the sock, they're like, "Oh, fuck." And then they drop their whole laundry, or they spill water, a little bit of water on their shirt, and so they're like, "God damn it." And they just like pour the whole thing on their head. I feel like that's like the exact same thing that we're talking about here, where it's like if you can't, if like you can't do even a little bit, then you end up not doing it at all. Or if you fail a little bit, then you end up not doing it at all. So yeah, at least a little bit is better than nothing. Sorry, I just thought about that.
No, that's actually funny.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of you hit the nail on the head earlier with I forget who mentioned it. Someone mentioned like if you don't see progress. Oh yeah, it was key like with the watches and stuff. If you don't see progress, you're gonna
Yeah.
quit out, right? And I think that's the most problem people have with like physical anything honestly is like working out any kind of is if you don't see that progress, it's really easy to just give up. And and it's really sad because if you Google like how do I work out online, like there's so many different guides and everybody's body's different, and sadly a lot of people are gonna like go towards something is like lose weight in 10 days, and
Yeah.
they're gonna try that at probably like whatever amount of effort they're gonna give, and they're gonna give up because 10 days goes by and they've maybe lost a pound or maybe they gained weight. I don't know, but like it's really sad that if you really can't, yeah, you don't see that progress, it's really easy to fall down that slide.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've kind of went into my next overarching topic here, which was the performance benefits. But
Wait, was the previous topic health benefits?
yeah,
Can we say one more thing of health benefits?
absolutely.
I saw something that I didn't know about, and it's zone 2 and the brain. And it was basically saying that the more zone 2 that you do, let me see, where did I write this? The more zone 2 you do, it boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And so that's just like something in your brain that helps grow new neurons and strengthen already existing neuronal connections, which I thought was really cool because that's linked to better memory, learning, and just regulation. And then it also is neuroprotective. So it helps guard against things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and just like general cognitive decline. And that's the exact same thing that Carbonic and I had read when we did that 3-day fast. And like the 3-day fast, it was just 3 days. It wasn't every single day, 3 days a week, sick for an hour, but it was like so much harder than just doing zone 2, yet it was the same benefit, at least for this part of the brain, which I thought was cool.
I actually totally forgot to mention that. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Yeah, increasing gray matter as well.
I didn't see that, but
It's really
maybe.
cool.
Wait,
All right, so performance benefits.
Wait, what's Fox
I was
waiting
just
for?
saying
Fox.
you said so training in zone 2 could help with like memory, and is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
I'm definitely not in zone 2. I can't remember a password for shit.
Oh my god, it's so bad. It is so bad how bad your memory is. Okay, we had to get into this thing, and he's the one that set up the password and username. I'm sorry, I'm going off on like a tangent.
Wait.
Go for it.
So he set it up, right?
Roast
The
him.
next day we had to get in. He could not remember the password, locked himself out. We had to wait the time. And then he reset the password, and then we had to get back in there that same day, and he forgot the password. And I was like, "Do you not write this shit down?" I did write it down in my notebook. Well, where's your notebook? I forgot. That's how it is all the time. That's one example, but that's how it is all the time. The kid never remembers shit. And If somebody ever comes and robs him, all they have to do is find all his notebooks scattered along, and they'll get into his entire life because that's how he has to put everything in.
Yeah, put that on live stream.
Damn.
Yeah.
Roasted right on stream.
No. She's right. My memory is bad. There's no fucking way I'm in zone 2 if it helps with memory. Ain't no way. I every
Yeah.
single time I log into my Yahoo, I have to reset my password every single time.
I guess that's a good in a way because you're not going to remember this roasting.
I
I'll
heard
forget
that
tomorrow.
memory. I heard a big part of memory is just whether or not you're paying attention in the moment. So like people who forget their keys, where they are located and like stuff like that, or where your notebook is. A lot of it is just like, were you paying attention when you set your keys down or when you set your notebook down? And I think that can freak a lot of people out because they're like, oh my God, my memory is declining. I'm forgetting everything. But it's like, maybe you just weren't paying attention when you did those
I
things.
mean, there is a thing called memory recall, and there's definitely people who are better at it than others. Like that's where the whole photographic memory comes from.
Yeah, but maybe they were just paying attention to
Like so much harder. Like
photographic
they read
memory
that
is an
word so much
extreme.
better than me. Like I don't know. I think there are people who have better memory recall. Yeah, there's no way. Like I've met people who could just read a sentence and then remember that sentence like the next day.
No.
I see what you're doing.
I'm just talking to Josh.
I mean, it could be paying attention, but like, I've legitimately like wrote down a password in this and been like, okay, here next to computer, gone, just out. There ain't no way I'm in zone 2.
No, you're in zone 5.
try
It's
it.
on.
You can test it to see what your heart rate's at. Like even if you don't have the watch, you can still do the pulse check and then I think count to 15 or something and then multiply it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it right now?
No.
Count to 15 and
You just
multiply, it's like
check.
300.
Yeah, I'm at 1,000.
We'll go into it later, but I'm not sure that's a good way to test for that. We'll go over that in the myths section of this podcast. But let's continue with the performance benefits. We were talking about building a stronger aerobic base, which when you're training harder is going to help you with those harder days. Should I talk about this now?
Well, yeah, I mean if we're going into performance benefits.
No, there's something I'm thinking about specifically.
Uh.
I'll talk about it later. I think it fits later on because I'm going to ask some questions and then we can debate about some stuff later. It also is going to enable you. I've already talked about a lot of these things. It kind of went in with the other things, but I was just about to talk about how you can keep your same heart rate but go at a faster pace.
Yeah.
And Key, I know you've experienced it, right? Where you're now able to go at a faster pace even though you're going at the same zone.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the whole point, at least in terms of performance for zone 2. Like you start off, you're running, it's fucking awful. But the more zone 2 you do, you can run at the same speed that used to be awful, but now it's no longer awful. So, yeah.
Efficiently using fat as your energy source is the benefit of zone 2, as opposed to when you're at higher ones where you're at threshold, you're using glycolysis, and
Which is
past
correct.
that is for like really really fast spinning, that's like phosphate or something that you're using, the
No one knows these words.
whatever.
Glycobloop. What is that?
Glyco.
Yeah,
What?
but the thing, so the benefit of using fat as your energy source when you're going through zone 2 training is that there's not the byproduct of lactase. So you're not getting that exhaustion.
That like burning feeling.
Yeah, the burning feeling that you feel afterward. You're not producing lactate. You're also not using carbohydrates, which is a very limited energy supplies, as opposed to fat, which we use as storage to keep us alive, and we use it for brain function, whatever. But we have like almost a limitless supply of it. We don't have a limitless supply of it, but it's basically infinite.
Yeah.
and our body likes to store fat so that we have it as an energy source for all of our functions.
Okay. What are you calling me? I'm just kidding.
You know, a lot of people do zone 2 because they want to lose fat or they want to lose weight. But I saw something, this was unrelated to the podcast, but I saw recently that um, when you burn more fat during exercise, that doesn't actually mean that you burn more fat overall
Mm.
because you might burn more fat during the exercise, but then later in the day, your body's going to be like, oh, you burned a lot of fat during exercise. I'm going to now burn carbs instead for the rest of the day to like overcompensate. So in the end, you're still burning the same amount as before. So like in terms of fat loss, you still need to be in a caloric deficit if that's what you want to do. But it sounds like for performance and longevity, that's where zone 2 burning fat is what actually is beneficial for.
This might end up in like the whole myth section, but you're actually burning more fat by being in higher zones.
That would make sense. Like a higher heart rate zone.
Yeah, and
Wait, what?
Really?
I was gonna mention this maybe later, but when you're actually in these zones, it's not like when you're in one zone, that's all you're in. Like you're not just like, oh, I'm in zone 2, flipping on that switch. It's like, all right, I'm leaving zone 2 and I got to flip off this switch and turn the other one. And you actually have all the like, say if we're talking about switches, you have all lights on simultaneously, but you
Oh.
have different levels of those lights being activated.
Okay.
So when you're in zone 2 level, you have on the dimmer switch, you have it at a very like a way higher level.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm just going to talk about myth stuff right here. This is one of those important things that people typically talk about when they're talking about zone 2, and they make it sound like the end of the world if you leave zone 2. But really, if you're like leaving a zone and maybe you're getting a little bit too high and you're entering that zone, you're still in zone 2. You're still working zone 2 and you're also still working zone 5, 4, 3.
Okay.
You're still working all these zones. You still have a lactate threshold. It's just based off of a I don't know what you saw. It's like 1 to 1.5 millimoles
I don't know.
of lactate. Okay, but it's based on that number, and that's what the whole thing comes from. It's coming from the threshold, how much lactate you're producing
Okay.
as you get higher up there, and so it's not necessarily bad if you're in zone 2 to sneak up into zone 3, like the low end of zone 3 and stuff like that. It's not going to ruin your workout,
That's interesting.
which I thought
Yeah.
when I first started doing this type of training that if you left that zone, your workout was ruined. But that's actually not the case.
That's really interesting. I've definitely heard that your workout is ruined. Like as soon as you go
Mhm.
over zone 2, then all of a sudden like you've jacked it up, you're using some other energy source and you can't go back because it takes too long to switch back. But you've read that that's okay.
Yes, I've been reading more recent articles as of August 2024.
That's
They've
cool.
came
I
up
mean,
with
that's nice,
new
'cause
evidence having
that's
to
one
do
of
with
the
that.
kind of stressful parts about it. You're
Yeah.
constantly like staring at your watch, like, all right, what's my heart rate at? Even though
Hmm.
you're just trying to chill.
What are
So
you even supposed to? Oh,
no, you good.
I was like, what are you even supposed to do? Like, say you don't have the watch, or when people didn't have this type of watch, what are you even supposed to do to ensure that you stay in zone 2? You don't like overexert yourself. Am I supposed to just like go to a walking like crawl pace if I feel like I'm doing too much?
Conversationalist placed. So being able
That's fair.
to move at a pace that you are comfortable talking, like easily.
Like you're not out of breath as you're talking.
Yeah, you can just talk normally. That's a good indicator that people use.
It's still an estimate, but
Yeah.
it
They're
is
all
good.
estimates.
Like in the end, you're gonna want a watch, not just a watch. You want a chest heart rate strap because I was using
Oh,
my watch for the longest time, and it was honestly so inaccurate. Because then I got the chest strap that's
yeah.
much more accurate, and my watch was so off. Like there was this one point where there was something specifically wrong with my watch this one day, but it said that my heart rate was like 90 or something, but I was like trying to get into zone 2 and it was still at 90 and I was supposed to be up at like 130 and so I just started like sprinting in my parents' backyard and it was still at fucking 90 and I was like, okay, I'm still at 90 and I was just like, this is wrong. And so finally I ended up getting the chest heart rate strap that same day or like that same session or whatever and my heart rate was at like 170. Like great. So I definitely highly recommend getting a chest strap, a heart rate strap. And for that, you just need to connect to your phone. So you don't need a watch to connect to your heart rate monitor.
Oh.
Just gonna talk about
Comfortable for you
that.
to be in because I've had to be tested with those on, and that shit, like they have to put it on. Obviously, they put it like under here and everything, and it is so hot. I hate that thing. I hate it when I have to
Oh, I
have
thought
it.
it was
Maybe.
cold when I first touched it in my skin.
Yeah.
When I wet that thing and put it on
No.
my skin, it just like
It's cold. Okay, it's
goosebumps
cold when it
everywhere.
starts, but then when they start training you, it feels gross to me because it has to
I
be like
think yours was
strapped under.
radioactive or something.
It just has to be strapped under, so I didn't like it.
It is
Yeah, it does.
you do have to get used to it. And I like have to keep mine tucked in my sports bra too, which I think is like extra
Yeah,
annoying.
it's hot.
Yeah. But I get used to it
Oh,
now that
okay.
I've been doing it a lot. Yeah.
Just imagining
So go
Peach's. Oh, good.
no, go for it. You
No.
you,
I
you
was thinking,
started.
what?
No, I was like, no, 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 no,
Yeah,
no,
you're
no.
what? You're what, Peach?
No, 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 no.
Now you gotta
I'm
finish your
no, no,
sentence.
no. I was imagining Peach's. She's like, she's saying it's hot. You guys are saying it's cold. Peach's doctor had like freshly taken it out of microwave. Like, this will be nice and comfy for her.
It's just cooking it.
Just cooking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Every
just like
time I
warming it up
went,
for you.
Yeah.
it was
There you
never.
go.
I've never had it cold.
They warmed it up
Like
for you.
leave it
They
on.
didn't want you to get. They were getting complaints about it being cold. You know,
It's like it goes
just
like
like
I
that
can tell there's a temperature.
stethoscope. Every single time
I
the
hate.
thing's
Okay, I hate
freezing.
this. I fucking hate stethoscopes. And they breathe on it like that helps. That doesn't help. You made it worse because now it's cold and sticking on me. I hate that thing. But yeah, yeah.
Reading off what Josh said, people say a lot of things, but with these things, they're all averages. There will be outliers. Absolutely true, and you'll see it a lot with the different ways they measure where your lactate threshold is. In Zone 2, they have their own specific way of measuring that, and then they have a different one for the lactate threshold, and then they also have different ranges of what Zone 2 is, like what percent of your heart rate it is, different ways of calculating your max heart rate. There's so many different things on it, and there's a very like wide variety of like things where it's like, oh, this is your level of Zone 2. When in reality, even when you're in Zone 4, you also have a little bit of your Zone 2 turned on.
Yeah, but there is going to be an optimal range. Like if you're going to have to spend an
Yes.
hour 3 or 5 times per week doing this thing,
Mhm.
you want it to be efficient, right? You want it to be optimal.
Absolutely. There is an optimal range, but it is just a range, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going excessively too hard, you're not going to be in Zone 2 levels.
Right.
But if you're around that area, you're still getting enough benefit from Zone 2 where it's good for you. And even with the lab tests where they take the Zone 2 training, there are disparages in that as well. That's not even 100%.
That's just like confusing, disheartening, all of the above.
I think
Because
it's
then
a little
just like,
bit
well, what the
less.
fuck do you do?
I think it's a little bit less because you know that it doesn't matter as long as you're in around that range that you're still getting Zone 2 benefits, as opposed to before where we thought that as soon as you left Zone
Yeah,
2,
true.
you were completely cut off. You were getting
Yeah.
no benefit.
True.
What people
true,
called the gray areas,
true.
which when I was reading on the gray areas, that stuff's false too. There's no really gray areas. You actually should be training all of your zones.
So I definitely have heard that before. So what you're talking about is there's like the zone 2, which is lower intensity. You're
Mhm.
getting all these benefits we're talking about. Then there's like the extreme, all the way at the opposite end. You're like going full force. You're getting a lot of benefits in terms of VO2 max and
Yeah.
whatever other things that we did not talk about today. And then that middle point where you're not quite going low enough, but you're not quite going hard enough. You're saying there's still benefits there too.
Yes. There is a benefit. So what you're training in the lower one is going to be your slow twitch muscles, right? Is that type 1 or type 2? Yeah, type 1.
I don't.
So you're engaging your type 1 muscles a lot more. And when you go further into your what you're talking about, zone 4, zone 5,
Mhm.
that's where you're engaging more of your fast twitch muscles, your type 2. But in the middle, you're engaging both of them at the same time. If you don't train in that zone, you're not going to be good in that zone. You're not going to be efficient at using both of your zone 1 and zone 2 at the same time. So it is important to train in that area. Not as much, obviously, and I think you'll fall in that area whether you're training in zone 2 or zone 4 because you're going to fall in those areas at some point. But it's important not to completely cut out those certain
Yeah.
things, even though that's like kind of what we learned before. It's like
Yeah.
what some articles I read were like, oh yeah, like you have these gray zones, which are basically you're getting no benefit because it's training both of them at the same time, which is absolutely not true.
Yeah, you and I were definitely doing that where as soon as we hit that middle point, it was just like, well,
Well, workout over. We failed. We'll get them next
And
time.
turns
Oh,
out
you didn't
We've
try to
definitely
like
done
calm it
that.
down or anything?
Well, because we
'Cause
learned
it's
that once you go above, then it's fucked, and that
it
you
was
just like,
so hard to like go back, like because like you go a little bit and then it would just spike through the ceiling.
well, not only was it harder to go back, but we also learned that like by even surpassing the zone 2 point, you've already, I don't even know, is it like accumulating lactate or whatever the thing is that occurs in that
Yeah,
zone? That thing makes it so that you can't go back to zone 2. But apparently we're learning more.
I can now. Like I have no issue going back and forth now that I can like run. So before I had trouble running in that zone, like without going over, but
Yeah.
like now I can run very comfortably in zone 2. We
Hmm.
went all over the place,
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
I mean that's
which
always what happens with this
is
though.
Yeah, but honestly, that's
great.
great. That's what we do.
It's amazing. I love it. But also I lost where I was.
I mean, I've learned a
So
lot about Zone 2.
We were
oh,
talking
that's
about
that's good. That's good, Fox.
performance benefits, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of done with performance benefits. I was going into how it affects your lifespan and important things with that. We went over dementia, which is, in my
Yeah.
opinion, kind of a lifespan thing because I think once you reach to a point where you're completely brain dead, like, are you really still there, dude? Like, I don't know.
Mm.
Like, that's a fate worse than death for me. Having not being able to function.
Mhm.
Oh, take care of yourself, do anything.
Yeah, dude. Like, man, so I've worried about that for a very long time. Uh, I'm not gonna go into details as to why, but like, it's something that's kind of like scared me ever since I was a kid. You know, just having my brain just go and me not being able to like know who I am, what anything around me is, and stuff like that. Dementia is
Yeah.
scary to me. So I've done a lot of exercises and stuff kind of based off that thing in mind. Like I do beet powder.
Mhm.
Like I've kind of cut off a little bit of that, but I've did running and
Free
all this
reign,
other
yeah.
stuff and all these like attempts to like make sure that my brain is still functioning when I'm old.
Yeah.
But this one of those things that prevents dementia, you getting rid of free radicals and stuff, Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I was reading that by improving your mitochondria specifically, it like mitochondria are involved in a lot of different things, including what are you giggling
No, I was just reading this chat.
about? Including cellular aging and then also cellular repair and recycling. And this is again the same stuff the same benefits from the 3-day fast that we were doing a few months ago, where it's just like your cells accumulate all of this junk. This junk results in disease like dementia and whatever else. But doing zone 2 can help get rid of some of that. So I thought that was really interesting because then you can like pair zone 2 train, like if you're interested in longevity, you can pair zone 2 training with the way that you eat and all these different things to kind of like accumulate health points in a way.
Okay.
Health points.
I gotta raise that HP, you know?
Gotta raise my HP.
And gamify it.
How do
Yeah.
I get my mana up?
Gatorade.
Gatorade.
Yep. It's what plants need.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Okay, someone got the reference. Thank you. I was worried.
Yeah, it's from last night. Oh
This
no.
stuff. I do.
Oh my
No.
gosh,
What?
Key.
I should have just nodded yes.
What?
Well, you mentioned it last night. That's where my brain
That
was
was a
at.
reference
Apparently, there was a
too.
reference last night to the thing.
Pop.
It's all right, Key.
It's okay.
Okay, wait. So what's the answer?
Idiocracy. You know.
Anyway,
Yeah. Never mind. Moving on. That's a
back to
tangent.
what we're doing.
What? I missed it. What? I'm like so in the dark.
Anyway,
What the hell?
yeah. There's also been studies to show that having really good mitochondria, efficient mitochondria, and a lot of mitochondria also offsets for bunch of different like diseases that you could potentially have. But maybe correlation, maybe causation. I'm not entirely sure. But like heart disease issues. But like you tend to see heart disease issues with people who are also more like this is the word like bigger.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I
it might
just
also be
I didn't actually look into the research articles, but I assumed that they controlled for that. If they didn't, then that would just be like a sham research study.
a sham one.
I think that would be that's such an it would be sham. It would be such an obvious thing that they need a control for.
Yeah, I didn't look too in depth of those studies, but
Neither.
I definitely saw things for that as well as diabetes as well.
All of those things.
All the
Cardiovascular
things.
disease.
Cardiovascular. Yeah, I think did I just say that? I don't know.
Did you? I thought you just said. Well,
Sorry. Whatever. That's good. So yeah. Well, we already went over like 90% of the stuff I was going to go over. So
Sorry,
the last thing I was going to end with.
Oh,
Yeah, go
sorry.
for
Can
it.
I ask a question before we end, or
Yeah.
before you end with whatever you had?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I have a question on like what would be the benefit of someone like me doing zone 2 training? Because just to give like a little background, my mom was a track runner all throughout like growing up in school. I didn't do track, but I did like baseball, basketball, soccer. I did like all of the sports that were like burst sports when it came to running. But like my mile speed, I think I was like 5.5 minutes for a mile. Now it's a little
Nice.
higher than that, but it's still like on the lower end. I think like last time I actually timed it, it was like 6:40 something for a mile. But
Nice.
like I've always done interval training, and it's never really affected my ability to run like long term, like a marathon or whatever. I've never had a problem doing that. So what would be the point in me incorporating zone 2 if it takes so much longer to do those workouts when at least for my body, I'm already getting that benefit with doing the interval training that I do. Like why would I ever want to I'm just trying to
So
figure out how I could do that.
the
That's why
thing
I
is,
would do
you're
that.
probably not with the type of interval training you're doing because I'm assuming you're going hard, right?
Yeah.
So you're probably working more on your lactate threshold, your VO2 max, and VO2 max levels.
You're like higher heart rate zone.
Yeah.
Well, so are you asking like what's the purpose if you're already performing well?
I'm performing like well enough that I'm okay with it. What would be,
Yeah.
is there like some kind of other benefit that would make me want to actually incorporate that? Because I've never actually I didn't even know about zone 2 training.
Longevity, brain function, others. It depends on what you're trying to improve in.
Well, not even just like longevity, but also just performance too. Because you're sorry, I super interrupted you. I wanted to answer the question, then you talk.
Okay,
about
okay, yeah,
I'm
no,
interrupting.
yeah,
No,
go
got
for it. No,
no.
you
Mute
already
my
you already
mic.
started. You already started, Key. Finish. Do it. No, I'm chilling. I'm big chilling. It's an answer. You wanted to do it.
Oh no, I'll never give my answer.
You just answer the question.
All right. I was just thinking the performance that you're talking about is not endurance, right? Like you're talking about like going fast and for a relatively short period of time, like 1 mile. But zone 2 would be improving performance. So if you wanted to run for longer, that would be the benefit there. But then now he's gonna go into the longevity benefits.
Huh? No, keep going.
No, that's it.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say depends on what you're trying to improve in, whether that be your health, your longevity, or whether that be your performance with that particular sport. So for a good example, as I would say, is what Zone 2 does is it gives you a base. So I would say Zone 2 would be your fitness, while Zone 4 would be your actual training. So essentially, what you're doing is you're increasing your capability to do better. So if I were to put this in an analogy, I would say you're basically increasing your cup size at Zone 2. And then for Zone 4, that's how much water you're able to put into that cup. But you can't go past a certain point. You're going to hit a plateau if you only train in a Zone 4. And vice versa, actually. You're only going to get so far just training in Zone 2 as well. It's very beneficial, and it's probably what you should put the most effort in order to get benefits. But if you don't do Zone 4, you're also going to plateau on how fast you're going to get, as well as skipping out on the other zones. You should also incorporate the other zones.
True. I should.
So your potential would just be to get faster. What would happen?
Are you convinced, Peach, or are you just like
I'll try it because it sounds like it could benefit me a little bit. Maybe I'd have like less of a chance to get hurt some weeks during workouts, especially like on the weeks where I know I've overdone it, and I have hurt myself a few times training. So maybe
Yeah.
incorporating it could like alleviate that.
I don't know if we mentioned this, but the recovery ability doing Zone 2, you actually recover faster doing Zone 2, getting blood to those areas, and it also flushes out your lactase in your joints, lactate in your joints. Lactase is the thing that breaks down nothing. But yeah, it flushes out the lactate, and it removes like the soreness feeling that you feel afterward. But it also, you're not impacting the ground as hard as if you were just doing that exercise every single day. You're going to cause yourself injuries. You're not letting yourself recover. That's why Zone 2 is very important in terms of like recovery for the body as well.
Sucks. I like waking up with Charlie horses.
You like waking up with Charlie's horses?
that happened
Dude, those things
last
are
night.
awful. They just, I look like a fish out of water once I get those things. I was also a track runner, by the way, but as those things, I only got them in track. I didn't get them in cross country. But as soon as those things popped in, I was just flopping around on the ground like a fish.
I could see it on your dog bed too, man.
Dude, they hurt so bad.
They hurt so
I've tried. I've actually been training myself for the last couple of years to where if I hurt myself, I try to make it feel like it feels good. Like I try to force my brain to think it feels good so I could stop with some of the pain because I freaking can't stand it. It helps a little bit. I'm not like. "Ugh." I'm more like. "Ugh, it feels good. It's fine."
Honestly,
Trick your brain.
with as much as I've learned about Zone 2 today, I actually do have a different perspective and a different question now. So chat can keep up with my question so they know a little bit about this. I've had 2 open heart surgeries, and so now my heart at like resting, like when I'm asleep, is running at the same pace as a normal person's are when they're like jogging, right? So is it actually even possible for me to work out in Zone 2? Because now that I've learned all this, the more I listen, I'm like, wait, I don't. Is that even a possibility for me? Because the moment I start working out, that heart rate's gonna go up. So is that even a
You
possibility?
have,
You
sorry, Fox.
no, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that a
Yeah, I absolutely know what you're talking about. You are a very unique circumstance. I don't know. You need to see a doctor.
I
Like I'd like
I'm
a physical
fine.
therapist is what you need to see.
Oh my
Somebody,
god.
because I've never met anybody who has a condition like you, where like I don't know how much you. Never mind. I don't want to share anything that you don't want to have shared on this podcast. Well, I mean, you could probably explain your thing a lot better than me
Mm. Man, I was
for
Fox,
looking
I
the
up.
did.
audience.
Oh, good.
I did look into it, and I actually asked ChatGPT this question because I didn't know how to ask this on Google. So I was literally like, my fox friend has this thing with his heart
Did
and
you
blah
say
blah.
fox
Hey,
friend?
No, I just
Fox
said
friend?
I just said my friend.
I was like, so
But
give you animal stats.
It's like telling you not to play around with the animals and stuff like
right.
that, like call rabies control.
Uh, basically this was my question to it was what I talked about earlier, which is basically like, are you just constantly getting these benefits because you're constantly in zone 2? And that's when it said like, no, it's not just about your heart rate, it's about your metabolic state. And so it said, to get the true physiological effects of zone 2 training, you need to do all these things together. Mild muscular work, so enough to increase demand for oxygen. Increased stroke volume, cardiac efficiency, not just fast speeds, but okay, whatever. Mitochondrial stimulation, something controlled. Okay, controlled stress. So it sounds to me like if you can get in zone 2 by maybe doing like lifting weights, like maybe for you, running is not the move. What about like when you walk? Maybe walking. Could you stay in zone 2 if you're walking?
I would imagine so. I've never gotten tired from walking. I can walk all day, like, just fine. But
I
Let's
mean,
yeah,
turn into a doctor's
maybe
visit.
that's what it would be. Maybe you would just need to walk, or maybe lifting weights is what puts you in a good spot. But like, I think first step is really just knowing what your heart rate is at. Maybe you were like laughing about it, saying you're constantly in zone 2, but maybe you're constantly like at 100 beats per minute instead of 70 or something. But you actually zone 2 would be more like 130 ish or whatever it is for your specific.
Even higher for probably your lactate threshold.
Yeah, mine changed a lot when we changed it on the watch. But yeah, so I think that's the first step for you is to determine. And then once you determine what your heart rate is at, try to get into the current zone 2 by doing something, whether it be lifting weights, walking, or something like that.
okay. Yeah, because I was like, the more I heard you guys talking about it, I was like, wait a minute, can I even? I don't know about that. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to get a fancy watch thing or a chest strap and
Yeah,
try
the
to
test
test that out.
straps.
Yeah, chest strap. Try to test that out.
Um, so my last thing I was gonna go over, because we kind of covered like everything, was the myths and mistakes and stuff like that. And I think we covered a lot of the ones I wanted to when I wanted to talk about gray zones, how how you always have like everything kind of turned on, but you're gonna have more things turned on based on what heart rate zone you're in and stuff like that. So you're not actually wasting workouts. There's nothing called, what do they call it? Throwaway miles or something, or
Oh,
trash miles or whatever.
junk miles.
Junk miles. That's false. There's no such thing as junk miles. You're still getting a benefit no matter what zone you're in some way, shape, or form. You may not be optimizing it for zone 2 or whatever if you're doing zone 3, but you're still getting a benefit out of it. So I hope that serves as a less discouraging note, because every time I looked at people talking about this stuff, it has like these hard heart rate zones. Like if you're in this zone, then you're at this heart rate. But if you go right past that, then you're in this heart rate and you get no benefits from this other zone or this zone or whatever, which is just not true.
Interesting.
So I hope that's a little bit encouraging to people who, well, maybe you guys are just learning what Zone 2 is for the first time. Uh, I hope that this is more encouraging than what we heard when we were
Yeah.
going through it, because it looks like such a hard cutoff. Maybe it's just the way they design the like how the zones go, but they don't show the how everything's turned on at the same time.
Probably just for simplicity's sake, just to
It
explain
is,
it.
and you are getting different types of mitochondrial benefit from high anaerobic as well. Just
Yeah.
not, it's not as much, but it's you're using a different, you're also using a different like chemical pathway there.
Yeah.
So you are still getting mitochondrial benefit doing hard workouts like Peaches,
Yeah.
just not as much.
And Peach, if you do end up doing this, I was looking at how long it takes to actually notice benefits, and it seems like it'll take uh like about a month to see some benefits, but that you don't see like really good benefits until like 6 months in. But even just after a month, you start seeing some benefits.
I think
So
I'm
if you
gonna
do try
try
it,
it with the treadmill. Sorry. I'll
no, no,
try it
no.
on a treadmill and just be like on 3, I guess, would probably be like keep you in zone 2.
A lot of people do walking on the treadmill, but at an incline. But you would
Okay.
have to test it to see what it is for you. But like the incline walking, that's pretty common.
I mean, it's
And it
about
is
to be
nice on the
summer too.
treadmill. Huh?
It's about to be summer here too, and like there's a lot of hiking, so I could probably just stay in zone 2 in some of my hikes.
Yeah, true.
Final summer.
If your heart rate is 120 normally, I would go for brisk walks until that like it'll lower down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, if if I were to tell people to get into running for the first time, I would tell them to follow maybe an 80-20 method, or just see how they feel in terms of like, do you still feel sore? Do you feel like you're not completely like, functioned up? Well, I would start off by starting with zone 2 as a base, because I feel like, so zone 2 is basically like what I would say is like your fitness. And if you have a good zone 2, I'd say you have a good fitness level. And then anything past that point is you training. Would be you training for whatever. So
That
I'd
makes
tell people
sense.
to train up on their zone 2 until they can get a heart rate that, they can move in at a normal level, and then move on from there.
Yeah.
That's just my recommendation. And I am not an expert, but I have done a lot of marathons, like a lot of marathons
But
and
that's
ultra
what back when you
marathons
were doing the
and half marathons.
you were going at like a super high heart rate.
Yeah, I was
Extreme.
going balls to the wall every time. It was working, but yeah, I could have probably done better if I maybe switched around my heart rates a lot more,
Yeah, it's true.
doing a lot more bass and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it
Well,
for that, for the main part. But now we
oh,
can ask questions.
what are the downsides of zone 2 training?
Oh, yeah.
What are the downsides of zone 2 training? Is that it takes time.
It does. It takes so much time. It can also be so boring because it takes so much time. Like, if you're on the treadmill, then maybe you could like watch a show or you could even do some work depending on how fast you're going. But like, if you're outside just like on a run, I tend to listen to music or listen to a podcast or whatever. But when you're doing that 5 times per week for an hour, it's just like, all right, when is this going to be over?
Oh yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, dude, zone 2 training, I feel like I would be talking to myself and it would not be good.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of talk like normally when I'm having like when I'm like really quickly running, like good ideas and thoughts are coming, but if I'm
Mhm.
just like walking, it's bad. So I'm like zone 2 training, do I really want to do this?
Interesting, dude. It's the opposite for me. If I'm going really fast, I like can't think. I'm just thinking like, when is this gonna be over? Is what I'm thinking. But when I'm going slower, that's when I'm like, la di da. Like, oh, what am I thinking about now?
I feel like my brain just always is like in la la land whenever I'm doing this stuff, no matter how fast I'm going. I'm usually listening to like either music or a podcast or
Yeah.
whatever, though, while I do this stuff.
Mhm.
So, I mean, time flies by.
Mhm.
I think Peach, you also mentioned a good point earlier, or your question earlier was kind of alluding to the downsides of Zone 2, which was just like, it takes so much time. Is this even going to help my performance in speed, for example, when you were talking about how fast you go with your mile? And like, although we did discuss that there are some benefits, like overall, it like increases the size of your cup or whatever. But like, if you're, let's say you're trying to like build muscle, like Zone 2 training is not going to do that. And if you only have a limited amount of time, then your muscle growth gains are gonna not be as good. So
Although
that's another
it will
downside.
increase the amount of energy you get while you're doing your lifting, as well as actually also engages HGH hormone while you're after you run.
Yeah, I think I saw that something about that too.
Mhm.
Human growth hormone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which people use as a performance enhancing drug, but it's actually a natural growth hormone in your body. It's not as excessive as if you just took straight up HGH. By the way, you don't need to do that. Just go for runs. You'll get HGH naturally.
Yep.
Damn. Listen to that kinds of music, huh? Dude, I listen to some like bangers when I'm exercising. The Pokemon theme song, every time.
Dude, that is such a banger song.
So good.
The original? You're talking about the original?
Yeah, the original.
Hell yeah, that was so good.
If you don't lift to that, you're crazy. I don't know what's wrong with you.
You just listen to it on repeat.
Yeah, why
Just that
not?
one song.
The only
Yep.
song on shuffle.
Like, I'm not much of a music person. I've never been much of a music person. I don't even remember the names of the artists or the songs even that I do listen to. So like if someone were to ever get a hold of my playlists, they'd be like, "Why is there like 10 songs on this?" I just interchange them whenever I'm like, yeah, "I'm bored of this song. Hey, here's a new one." I don't know I don't so like but that's what I exercise to. Yep.
Nice.
All right. Any other questions?
Let's see.
Oh, you have a whole notepad.
I had to study. I didn't know this stuff. I thought honestly up until a few years ago, my mind of like exercise and fitness was like I pick things up and I put them down and I get real good at that.
I mean, that's good too.
Yeah.
I'm all for some lifting.
Yep. So, honestly, it was exciting to learn that there's different variables to exercising. I mean, obviously, I always knew about different ways to exercise, but I've never even heard about different zones until you mentioned it for the podcast. I was like, what is zone 2? What the fuck is that? Zone 2. So, I
It's
think
definitely not something that people look at when they lift.
No, I don't think so. Well, because lifting,
Unless
you're
you're
probably.
CrossFit, maybe.
Unless you're what?
CrossFit. But they like
Oh.
only do zone 5.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think most lifters or people doing that kind of exercise, your main goal is probably muscle growth. So I'd assume they probably didn't look up zone 2 or, most people probably don't know about it because they're, and
I mean, that's like exactly. It's like unrelated. Like depending on what you're doing, right? Whether that be hypertrophy or I don't know how we got off on the going off on the rails here. Now we're talking about weightlifting.
No, what do you mean?
Yeah, what's
That's
that?
another topic, Fox.
No, but it has to do with zone 2 because I didn't even know about zone 2 and that was the reference, like I had no idea what zone 2 even was until you mentioned it. Shit, what else? I think we went over. Well, you went over everything I had written on my notebook. I thought I did such a good job, and you said it all.
That's good. I'm happy. That makes me happy that we covered everything in your notebook.
Meh. Useless.
Meh.
Meh. I was like, I'm gonna be so prepared. Carbonic. Well.
All right. What about you, Key?
I already asked my question about the downsides of Zone 2, but I just want to shout out Josh, who has been writing in the chat this entire time,
Yeah.
actually saying a lot of interesting things, knows about Zone 2, has done his own research. So
I'll be reading
Just-
through the chat later.
yeah, I just want to shout out Josh.
Oh, I've been reading Josh's
Yeah.
messages every
Yeah.
time. It's cool to know we have another fitness person in the chat.
Yeah. I think Josh likes to
like
do
fitness,
research
Fox?
about random things.
What Carbonic?
You like fitness, Fox?
I have nothing.
I'm not gonna say it. Never mind.
Oh, what you fucking? All right.
You know exactly what I was gonna do, Fox.
You're gonna fucking try to roast me? Huh?
About to get us age restricted. All right. Anyway.
Ready?
How are we not already
No,
age
we're
restricted?
not.
Anyway, yeah, Peach, you have any? I'm just going around the circle here.
Circle?
Yeah, Fox, Key, and then you. Just seeing if you have any questions
Okay, because squares aren't recording. Okay. No, I already asked all my.
around this square. All right, Fox, you gonna grab your balls?
Oh my god! You meant the?
Did you not?
Yeah, I just thought he fucking blasted me for some reason. I was like, "What do you think I'm fucking
Like, You're like, we don't say that on stream.
Yeah, I don't
I
see
was
where your
like-
hands are.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, you leave me alone." All right.
All right.
So, do we want to? Oh wait, what did we do last time? I think I took
think-
out a.
yeah. Fox juggled last time.
I think I took.
You gonna
this
juggle
Oh, nice.
a D4? Wait. We need to assign values to all these. What's one, Fox?
Did you already shuffle them?
Yes, I shuffled them. So
By the
one,
way, maybe we should explain this part
Yeah.
for the people who are new. So what we're doing is each one of us has a topic in one of these balls. And the whole RNG aspect of this is we're going to roll a dice, which is going to correspond to one of those balls over there, which has one of our topics in there that we're going to be doing for the next week.
all right. So
right.
we have
Anyway.
the Ultra Ball number 1,
Oh my gosh, he's going to show off his balls
Show
again.
off every
the
ball.
Premier
He
Ball.
loves
Fine,
showing off his
I'll
balls.
leave them on the. We have the Premier Ball number 2, Pokeball number 3, and Moonball number 4. I'll leave them on the bed. I'm go. Fucking. Just trying to make content
Damn.
over here.
From what?
Okay,
From which way? Which
So
way
I'm
are we
actually,
going,
I'm
Fox?
shuffling.
What's one?
Yeah, what's one?
Ultra Ball's
You were
number
listening
1.
with the Ultra Ball.
Yeah, if you
Ultra
were
is one. Okay.
Fucking-
You just said this is an Ultra Ball. It was
I
in
said it's number 1.
version
No,
3 of
No, I was saying
No,
this is
I-
number
Pokemon
1.
Diamond and Pearl.
Actually, this fucking
You actually
guy.
said actually.
This
Dude.
is where I
Actually,
caught my first Gyarados.
This fucking guy. This fucking guy.
Okay, let me just roll this shit before you get off.
Bro, just roll.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba. Can you see it?
What is that? I can see it.
I can't
It's
see
on
it.
3? Okay.
It's three.
3.
3. Up
Is it
top.
So-
showing
It's the
right?
regular OG ball.
The regular OG ball. What's inside?
Alright, what's in it?
Fighting evil.
Video games effects on the brain.
Okay, now it's your topic again. Why haven't you guys been picked? What is
Yeah,
Rigged.
what is
It's
going
random.
on?
Rigged.
It's random.
Alright, video effects on the brain.
Yep.
That's
Oh, shit.
Okay.
considering that we are all pretty avid gamers, I think that's a good one.
We're gonna
Yeah.
hear that we're like deteriorating our brain cells and
Never gonna play.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a level of positive and negative
Yeah.
outcomes from. Absolutely.
Yeah, now I know what to do in a zombie apocalypse. Like, I'm.
I mean
Yeah, true. Yeah, the whole learning aspect.
I
know
think
the-
there actually is a lot of learning, but whatever. Okay, I
found
guess
that
we'll
over in
discuss
bunch of
it
robots.
2 weeks
I
from
know how
now.
to shoot
Yeah. I was like, did you want me to re-roll?
them. No, it's my topic. I won. I will be your host next week or next 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, I will be your host again to run another one of these sessions.
Yeah, so it'll be
good luck
the
with that.
16th, April 16th.
Beautiful.
Anyway,
All right.
that is all for that.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. We raiding out.
Who we got? Yep. Who we raiding, Fox? I'll let you lead the charge.
There's this carbonic guy.
Okay.
Swear it is. Every single time.
Crazy Pudding is playing Monster Hunter.
Let's do it.
Crazy
It's an
Pudding?
SGN, right?
Yeah.
It's a SOG.
S.
Yes.
SOG. Whatever. Yes, that
Before we
works.
embarrass ourselves.
Dude, I think he's SOG.
I think so.
Soggy.
He's very soggy. I'm ready now, so.
All right, raiding out. All right,
Yeah, right now.
I've started the raid.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. You guys have been amazing. I know there was not as much engagement. It just happens, with this type of content. I'm not going to have as much engagement when it comes to these podcasts, but I still hope that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
But
Learned a lot.
we'll probably be here tomorrow playing games like we normally do.
Yeah.
Fox, also a streamer as well. If you didn't know, we're both streamers, and they stream with us. That's a weird way of putting it, but yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
Hit the
thank you
nail on-
guys so much. Anyway, 3.
See
Unless
guys-
you have anything
really
else to say, Paul.
Nope.
Josh wants us to do a D&D stream.
Oh my god.
Wait, what?
Josh wants
do a
us to-
D&D stream.
Josh wants to do us a
stream.
who would be the dungeon master?
He said we have to find one.
We have to
What?
find one.
I'm
Fox would be a dungeon master.
Yeah,
No,
I'm-
then you can't play.
Yeah, but then I'm an experienced dungeon master. I DM'd a lot. But we gotta.
No, we're gonna find a with
All right, we got to raid out. All right,
Okay,
ready?
we gotta raid. 3.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye. Stop.